1 minute, we were all chatting and laughing, and then, just like that, it was silent. At least, that's how I remember it. There might have been chaos, noise, and screams, but those details blur into the background. What stands out in my mind is the deafening boom, the sudden explosion of airbags, and the thick, choking smoke that filled the car, and then profound silence. In that stillness, it felt as though the seat was enveloping me, wrapping me in its protective embrace. The tranquility in the midst of the disaster was overwhelming. I found myself trusting in God's plan, whatever it might be. I wasn't panicking. Instead, I experienced an unusual peace. I knew that if this was my final moment on earth, I was ready for eternity with Jesus. The circumstances were beyond my control. The peace I felt surpassed all understanding. I had memorized Philippians 4:7. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Early in my walk with Christ. However, it was in that harrowing moment that I truly grasped its meaning. The car was a wreck. My life was in the balance, and yet, amidst the chaos, peace that settled over me was profound. It was a miraculous peace that guarded my heart and mind, affirming that Jesus was with me and for me, no matter the outcome. Miracles are a point of debate for many, but I've always believed in them. Yet, for a long time, I thought miracles were something that happened to other people. That changed on the day of the accident, a day that turned out to be a profound testimony of God's miraculous intervention. My friends and I were en route to a birthday lunch when a car suddenly pulled out in front of us. Collision was immediate and violent. The airbags deployed, and my car came to a screeching halt, wedged precariously between a fire hydrant, a tree, and an electrical pole. That we walked away from such a crash was in itself a miracle. In the emergency room, amidst the shock and bruising, doctors conducted a series of tests to check for internal bleeding, fractures, and other potential injuries. To everyone's surprise, scans revealed not only bruising, but also a kidney stone and something else unusual. After further tests and biopsies over the following weeks, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. The doctors noted that the cancer was against the chest wall and likely would not have been detected by a routine mammogram. The car wreck, the scans, and the subsequent discovery of cancer seemed like a twisted kind of miracle. It has now been 4 years since that fateful day. Explaining how my faith has grown, how God has stretched and strengthened me in the years following, is challenging. But through this journey, I've learned invaluable lessons about trusting God and His sovereignty. The book of Job, in particular, became a sanctuary of comfort and wisdom. Here are some key lessons I've learned about trusting God. 1. Trust God in the good and bad of life. Life is a blend of joy and sorrow, comfort and challenge. Sin has introduced suffering, pain, and disappointment into the world. While we often lack control over our circumstances, we always have the choice to walk through life with Jesus or without Him. I've made a deliberate choice to face life's challenges with Jesus. Job, despite the calamity that befell him, did not let himself be consumed by trying to understand why it happened. Instead, he chose to trust God. In Job 2:10, he asks, "Should we accept only good from God and not adversity?" This verse has become a cornerstone of my faith, reminding me that God is worthy of our trust regardless of our circumstance. 2. Trust God and learn from Him through the circumstance. Job 9:4 says, "God is wise and all-powerful. Who has opposed Him and come out unharmed?" This verse has guided me in understanding that the challenges we face might serve a greater purpose. What if the situations we endure are opportunities for growth or even honor? What if God is trusting us with difficult circumstances for His glory? The idea that God has not brought me this far to abandon me is comforting. As Job 10:12 states, "You gave me life and faithful love, and your care has guarded my life." I try to discern what God might be teaching me through each trial. 3. Trust God even when there are no answers. When God spoke to Job in Job 38, He did not provide answers to Job's questions. Instead, He revealed His majesty and sovereignty. God does not answer to us. His plans and purposes are beyond our comprehension. We cannot impose our definitions of good and evil upon God. Trusting Him, even without answers, is crucial. I've learned that my understanding is limited, but God's wisdom is infinite. Trusting and obeying Him, even when I don't have all the answers, must be my primary response. 4. Trust God with humility. Job 44 says, I am so insignificant. How can I answer you? I place my hand over my mouth. This verse underscores the importance of humility before God. Recognizing our own insignificance and God's ultimate authority helps us trust Him more fully. I've learned that humility flows from a heart aligned with God's will. Trusting God with humility means acknowledging His power and our dependence on Him. Even when I cannot see how He is working, I must trust that His plans for me are unstoppable and perfect. 5. Trust God with the impossible. In Job 42:2, Job declares, I know that you can do anything, and no plan of yours can be thwarted. This verse reminds me that nothing is beyond God's power. No matter how dire the situation, be it a car wreck, cancer, or anything else, God's plans are unshakable. What may seem like a setback can often be a setup for God to showcase His power and faithfulness. I hold on to the belief that God can handle any problem, and what appears to be an insurmountable challenge might be an opportunity for Him to demonstrate His strength.